The humid air of Orlando, Florida, hung thick and heavy, a familiar blanket of discomfort that settled on my skin like a second layer. I stood in the driveway, the keys to my sister Maya's car dangling from my fingertips, their metallic chime a cruel music in the quiet afternoon. A sleek, silver Honda Civic gleamed under the relentless sun, a testament to her unyielding sacrifice. 3 jobs, a constant cycle of exhaustion and relentless saving, all for this machine. It wasn't just a car. It was her ticket to a better life, a symbol of her independence and the promise of a future she had meticulously planned. But for me, it was something else entirely, a means to an end. My name is Chloe, and I'm a mess. I've always been the shadow to Maya's light, the reckless wanderer to her steady path. While she was stacking her savings, I was racking up debt, bad decisions, cheap thrills, and a constant need to escape a reality I couldn't face. I told myself I deserved a break, a way out, and this car was it. The plan was simple, a twisted, desperate masterpiece of my own making. Maya was inside, finally resting after a 16-hour shift. She wouldn't know until the morning. By then, I'd be gone. I unlocked the car, the soft click of the mechanism a tiny betrayal. I slid into the driver's seat, the leather warm against my legs, and inhaled the new car smell, a scent of freshly minted success that wasn't mine to claim. My heart hammered against my ribs, a chaotic drum solo of guilt and adrenaline. I knew what I was doing was wrong, a violation of the deepest trust, but the weight of my own failures was heavier. I had arranged to meet a buyer, a cash deal, no questions asked, in a city an hour away. The money was just enough to wipe my slate clean and give me a fresh start, a new life, just not here, just not with her. The drive out of Orlando felt like a descent into a different world. The familiar palm trees and sprawling suburbs gave way to empty stretches of highway, each mile of physical and emotional distance I was putting between myself and Maya. The Civic hummed along smoothly, a perfect purring testament to her hard work. She had always been the dependable one. When our parents left us to fend for ourselves, a tangled web of neglect and broken promises, Maya was the one who held us together. She worked. She studied. She became an adult long before her time, all while I drifted aimlessly, a ship without a rudder. I thought about her face when she saw the car was gone, the confusion, then the dawning realization, and finally the hurt. It would be a pain unlike any other I had caused her, a wound I knew I could never fully heal. Guilt, a cold, sharp blade, twisted in my gut. I told myself it would be temporary. I'd pay her back. Someday. I'd send her a big check and an apology that meant something. But deep down, I knew it was a lie. I was running away not just from her, but from the person I had become. My phone buzzed with an incoming text. It was Maya. "Hey, did you get the groceries? I'm so tired I can barely move." My thumb hovered over the keyboard. I didn't respond. I couldn't. The city I was headed for felt like a ghost town, a place to disappear. The man I was meeting, a shady character named Leo, was a connection I had made through my dubious past. He promised a quick, clean transaction, and I was desperate enough to believe him. The meeting took place in a dusty parking lot behind a derelict warehouse, a fitting backdrop for the dirty business I was about to do. The air was thick with the scent of stagnant water and exhaust fumes. Leo was exactly as I had imagined him, a man with a face like a crumpled paper bag and a smile that didn't reach his eyes. He circled the car, his gaze appraising, almost clinical. He ran a hand over the hood, a possessive gesture that made my stomach churn. "Clean title?" he grunted, his voice a low gravel. I nodded, my throat dry. "Yes, everything's in order." He counted out the crisp bills, a thick stack of them. My hands trembled as I took the money, the weight of it in my palms feeling both liberating and heavy with shame. It was more cash than I had ever held in my life. It was my freedom. I signed the title, my sister's name a painful reminder of what I was giving up. As he drove away, the Civic's taillights disappearing into the twilight, a hollow ache settled in my chest. I had done it. I had traded her dream for my escape. The moment felt both monumental and insignificant, a transaction of dreams for a stack of paper. With the cash stuffed in my backpack, I walked to the nearest bus station. I bought a ticket to anywhere far away. The bus terminal was filled with the weary souls of travelers and the smell of stale coffee. As I waited for the bus to board, I pulled out my phone. A dozen missed calls from Maya. A flood of desperate messages. "Chloe, where are you? The car is gone. Are you okay?" My resolve faltered. The reality of what I had done crashed over me like a cold wave. I had not just stolen a car. I had stolen her trust, her security, and a piece of her future. The money felt less like freedom and more like a heavy chain. The bus lumbered north, carrying me through the night. The flashing lights of passing cars painted fleeting streaks across the grimy window. I stared out at the dark landscape, a blur of trees and billboards, and tried to quiet the frantic voice in my head. I was free. The money was safe, but the taste of that freedom was bitter, laced with regret. Every time the bus hit a bump, the stack of money in my bag seemed to grow heavier, a constant reminder of my betrayal. I couldn't shake the image of Maya's face, her confusion turning to grief, the way her eyes would look when she was truly hurt. I arrived in a small, anonymous city far from everything I knew. The money, which had seemed so abundant, started to shrink. The first few weeks were a blur of cheap motels and fast food. I got a job as a waitress, a temporary solution that I told myself was part of my new life, but the past wasn't so easy to outrun. My phone buzzed with a message from Maya's best friend. "Maya is heartbroken, Chloe. She's trying to hold on, but she's lost. She thought you were her family." The word stung. I had always been family to her, even when I didn't deserve it. I tried to lose myself in the monotony of work, the clatter of plates and the forced smiles. But every time I saw a silver Honda Civic on the street, my heart would lurch. The car wasn't just an object. It was a symbol of my sister's dreams and my own capacity for selfishness. I realized that the money couldn't buy me a clean conscience. It just bought me a new setting for my old problems. The life I had run from was still very much a part of me, a shadow I couldn't escape. If you're enjoying this emotional journey, remember to subscribe to our channel. We have more stories that will captivate and move you. A few months passed. My life had settled into a grim routine of work and solitude. The city felt cold and indifferent, its anonymous streets reflecting my own isolation. The money was dwindling faster than I had anticipated. The rent on my tiny apartment was high, and I couldn't seem to save a dime. The waitress job barely covered my expenses, and the constant stress was wearing me down. My new life wasn't a fresh start. It was just a different kind of struggle, one where I was constantly looking over my shoulder, afraid of being found. I stopped checking my phone for messages from home. The silence was easier to bear than the painful updates. I knew I had burned a bridge that could never be rebuilt. One day, a customer at the restaurant, a kind-faced older woman, saw the exhaustion in my eyes. "Everything okay, sweetie?" she asked. I just shook my head, my eyes welling up with tears I couldn't hold back. I told her a small part of my story, a carefully curated version of the truth, omitting the most painful details. She listened patiently. "Running away never works," she said softly. "The problems you're trying to escape will always catch up to you. You have to face them." Her words were a simple truth I had been desperately avoiding. I knew she was right. I had a choice to make: continue to live a lie, or try to find a way back, to face the consequences of my actions. The thought of confronting Maya was terrifying. The shame was a physical weight on my shoulders, but the emptiness I felt was worse. I was a thief, a liar, a traitor. I had destroyed the one relationship that truly mattered to me, and the void it left was unbearable. The decision to return wasn't a sudden, dramatic change of heart. It was a slow, agonizing process. It began with me looking up bus routes back to Orlando, then canceling them, then looking again, tracing the route with my finger on a map. The thought of seeing Maya's face was a mixture of dread and longing, a terrifying pull. I couldn't just show up and expect forgiveness. I had to earn it. The problem was, I had no idea how, or if it was even possible. My money was almost gone. The little I had left was for a bus ticket and a single, final act of desperation. I found a job at a car dealership, a place where I could be surrounded by the very thing I had taken. It was an ironic, self-inflicted penance. I learned about the business, about the value of cars, and I started putting every extra cent I earned into a savings account. It was a pathetic amount, a drop in the ocean compared to what I owed her, but it was a start. It was a tangible step towards making amends. My phone, once a source of constant contact, was now a silent monument to my isolation. One night, I finally mustered the courage to send Maya a message. It was short, and it was hard to write. "I'm so sorry, Maya. I know I messed up. I don't expect you to forgive me. I just want you to know I'm trying to make things right." I waited, my heart pounding, but no response came. It was the silence I deserved. The emotional distance I had created was vast, a canyon that felt impossible to cross. I had to face the fact that I might have lost her forever. The day I finally went back to Orlando was a gray, overcast affair. The air, usually thick with humidity, was cool and heavy with the promise of rain. I took a local bus, the route I used to take with Maya when we were kids. The city looked the same, but to me it felt completely alien. I was a ghost in my own hometown, a person who no longer belonged. My stomach was a knot of anxiety. I walked the familiar streets towards our house, each step a confrontation with my past. My backpack felt heavy, not just with the few items I owned, but with the full weight of my regret. Every street corner, every familiar store, felt like a judgment. I saw a young couple laughing as they got into a car, and the image of Maya's beaming face when she first bought the Civic flashed in my mind. The casual joy of others only amplified my own shame. When I reached the driveway, my heart sank. The space where the silver Civic once stood was empty, a stark, hollow reminder of my crime. The house, our house, looked smaller, more fragile under the leaden sky. I knocked on the door, my knuckles a hesitant, almost silent rap. The moment stretched into an eternity. Maya opened it, her eyes wide with shock. She looked tired, her face a mask of grief. Her hair, which was always meticulously styled, was a mess. She was just a shell of the woman I remembered, her vibrancy extinguished. "Chloe," she whispered, her voice barely audible, as if speaking my name was a physical effort. I wanted to embrace her, to tell her everything, to beg for her forgiveness, but the words caught in my throat. I just stood there holding a small envelope. Inside were the few $100s I had managed to save. It was pathetic, a pittance compared to what I owed. "This is all I have," I said, my voice thick with emotion. "It's not enough, I know, but it's a start. I'm so sorry, Maya." Her eyes filled with tears, not of anger, but of overwhelming sadness. She just stared at the envelope, then at me. I could see the pain, the betrayal, and a flicker of something else, something akin to pity, a silent acknowledgement that I had hurt myself as much as I had hurt her. If this story has you on the edge of your seat, hit that like button and subscribe for more content that dives deep into the human experience. The next few weeks were a painful, agonizing stalemate. Maya let me stay on the couch, but she barely spoke to me. The house was filled with a thick, suffocating silence. She would come home from work, go straight to her room, and the door would stay shut until morning. The tension between us was a physical presence, a wall I had built with my own hands, brick by brick. I tried to talk to her, to apologize, to explain, but she just shook her head, her expression weary. "I don't understand, Chloe," she said one night, her voice filled with a raw, guttural hurt. "I worked so hard, and you just took it. It wasn't just a car to me. It was everything I had worked for." The full weight of my selfishness hit me with the force of a physical blow. It wasn't just about the car or the money. It was about the years of her hard work, the nights she spent exhausted, the countless sacrifices she made. I had taken all of that, all of her dedication and dreams, and I had sold it for my own fleeting convenience. I had traded her future for a temporary escape. I finally understood the depth of the pain I had caused, and the reality of it was more crushing than I could have imagined. I had stolen not just an object, but a part of her soul. One evening, I found her sitting alone in the dark, looking at an old photo album. I sat beside her, and she didn't move away. It was a picture of us as kids, smiling, our arms around each other, oblivious to the hardships to come. "We were happy then," she said quietly. "I always thought we'd have each other's backs no matter what." My chest ached. "I know I let you down," I whispered, the words catching in my throat. I was so lost. I didn't think about anyone but myself. She closed the album and finally looked at me, her eyes red from crying. "I didn't lose the car, Chloe," she said, her voice trembling. "I lost you." The car was just a thing. Losing my sister, my best friend, that's what really broke me. That night, something shifted between us. The wall of silence didn't crumble completely, but a small crack appeared. She started talking to me, not about what I had done, but about other things. The weather, her work, small details of her day. It was a slow, tentative process of rebuilding, a fragile truce. I knew I couldn't just live off her forgiveness. I had to earn my place back in her life. I got a job at a local diner, and I started saving every dollar, every cent. I worked long hours, the scent of coffee and pancakes a constant reminder of my new, humble beginning. I researched used cars in the area, scouring the classifieds for a silver Civic that looked just like hers. I found one, in good condition, but it was expensive. The money I had saved was a fraction of the cost. I worked extra shifts, sometimes pulling doubles, the way Maya used to. The exhaustion was real, a constant ache in my bones, but it was different. It was a productive exhaustion, one that felt like a step towards redemption, not a flight from reality. I was working to build something for someone else, not for myself. One day, I came home to find a box on the dining table. Inside was a small, dusty toolbox and a note from Maya. "It's not enough to work hard," she had written. "You have to be smart about it." It was a small act of kindness, a subtle offer of help. She started teaching me about the basics of car maintenance, about how to spot a good deal, about the value of things that can't be bought. It wasn't about the car anymore. It was about her teaching me how to be a person, how to build something of my own, how to be someone worthy of her trust. She was giving me a new foundation, a new set of values, a new road to take. The months that followed were a slow, difficult journey of atonement. I worked relentlessly, my hands raw from the kitchen, my body weary from the long hours. Maya never mentioned the car directly, but I knew it was the silent promise between us. The goal was always present, a beacon in the distance. The day I had saved enough for a substantial down payment, I went to a small, family-owned dealership I had found. The car was a beautiful, slightly used silver Civic, a model year newer than hers. It wasn't the exact car, but it was a symbol, a new beginning forged from hard work and genuine regret. I took the keys and, with a pounding heart, drove to our house. The air felt different today, lighter, as if the promise of a fresh start was hanging in the air. Maya was in the kitchen making dinner. "Maya," I said, my voice shaking. She looked at me, her face unreadable. I got you something." I gestured to the driveway. She walked out slowly, her eyes widening as she saw the car. It wasn't a brand new model, but it was clean, polished, and perfect. The keys dangled from my hand, the same familiar chime, a sound that no longer held the ring of betrayal, but of hope. She looked at the car, then back at me, her eyes filled with a mixture of disbelief and tears. "I know it's not the same," I said, my voice breaking, "and I know the money can't replace what I took, but I want to try." I reached for her hand, and she took it. Her grip was tight, a silent acknowledgement of all the pain, the betrayal, and the hope for a new beginning. She didn't say, "I forgive you." She didn't need to. Her eyes said it all. She didn't have to forgive me for taking her car. She forgave me for taking her trust, for betraying our family, and for the long, painful journey it took for me to find my way back home. I had sold her dream, but in the end, I had finally started to build one of my own, a foundation built on honesty and love. If you've been moved by Chloe and Maya's story, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us create more authentic and compelling narratives like this one.